he felt like that was the acknowledgement that he didn't have a choice, that he was chosen as the person to carry on what was important to the Ohana, to the transference of Ha. And so my personal connection to that work is really around that, is making sure that as a Kanaka Hawaii, everything that I do has to be done in that way, with a strengthened sense of Ha. And so I offer that as sort of the representation of the work that we've done. And we have a panel of writers from the community. Mahina Paishan Duarte, who works with our charter school. Cheryl Lupinui, who was sitting member on the Board of Education at the time. Dr. Keiki Kavaia'a, who has done tons of work around educational outcomes, as well as Dr. Walter Kahumoku. And Kamoa Ewak, who represents the Aha Kauleo. There were others on the committee, but just so happens we overlap all the time, and these are the overlaps onto Kiao Malama Lama. And so I offer this, and if anybody has questions, the panel is here to answer questions. Mahalo.
Okay, so for right now, we're gonna ask for some help passing out some blank papers. And if you have a question, please raise your hand and then get some paper. And what these questions are here to do is kind of analyze the process that we all went through and its relationship to what you just heard. Because ultimately, in the end, the outcome that we're looking for and the takeaway that we're looking for is a sense of Ha, like Kau'i is saying, that we can leave here with something to help guide us in our own context, with our own keiki, with all of our haumana and our ohana in our communities. So yeah, that'll be how we frame the questions. If there's not too many questions, I actually think this is a good opportunity for some of the folks up here to expound a little bit more on some of the ideas that Kau'i and I were sharing earlier and their experience on the panel, because I think in trying to make the comparisons and the correlations between what we went through today and what they went through, I'll be honest with you folks, as we were talking in that room, I personally wanted to go right at this because I feel that stars are aligning. Opportunities come up sometimes once in a lifetime. And we have a lot of different contexts, a lot of different issues taking place right now that point that we're on the path to Lanakila. And personally, I like Lanakila for our students, for our people in our community. And so because of that, that's why we have a panel up here to answer your folks' questions so that you have something to take away. And that we can also have something to take away, which is going to be that a reaffirmation, or affirming of the sign that we feel is taking place. So here is what came out of this morning's discussion. Okay, the first question that came up. Okay, well, I think I can answer this question. I'm not on a panel. Well, I think it's relevant to Okanino for the 2015-16 school year. Is a test required for 3rd and 4th grade Hawaiian immersion students? Okay. Well, like anything in our day-to-day lives as Hawaiian educators, the answer is no. There will be an availability of a test. The DOE will give you another answer. The federal government will give you another answer. But I think the movements that we've made in developing assessments for Kaipuni students in grades 3 and 4 actually help to, again, reaffirm the sign of the times right now. You know, is that having money given to Hawaiian-led, Hawaiian-serving organizations to develop the test. So it's actually, everybody has a choice whether or not they enter into. Will there be the availability of a test for 3rd and 4th graders in the 15 and 16 school year? Absolutely. All right. Okay, so here's a question for the panel. Terrific. What is the plan? How can we work together to transform the system, let's say environments, to allow HA to be realized? Kau'i. Oh. Okay, we have a Roke kai hakaka no hoi oi make koki. Hermai. So, what is the plan? How can we work together to transform the system's environment to allow HA to be realized? That's a good question. Okay,
Okay.
what is the plan? How can we work together to transform the system's environment to allow HA to be realized?
I'll set some context for
Perfect.
Kau'i to answer the question. When the policy was written and approved, it was basically as setting this as a comprehensive framework for learner outcomes for the educational system in the department. It wasn't prescriptive, and we definitely didn't want it to be mandated. This was a process for which if the community that we spoke to, and we tried to speak to many, said this is what we want, then the board's response was to say, then how can we support you? And if supporting you is to put this in policy so it lives past us, then we will do that. We didn't, Naho Pena A'oa is to be honored and to be respected, and we didn't want anyone to implement that didn't come from that place. And if you feel or felt, we didn't want anyone to feel like they had to do it, because then we've lost the whole spirit of what Naho Pena A'o represents. So the policy is very broad in setting this as a framework for the system. Alongside, we as a working group submitted a recommendation memo that talked about, from the feedback that we got from everyone, some ideas of how to implement. Where do we begin? How do we take small baby steps and then bigger leaps forward? So I'll let Kau'i speak to some of those plans for implementation in terms of, hopefully you can identify intersection points along the way.
Sorry, I just validating. So throughout the process of developing Naho Pena A'o, we touched a bunch of people in the community, not just the external community, but the internal community. And so some of the recommendations that came out of the committee is to seek out those early adopters in the system, internally in the system, that have already gravitated towards Naho Pena A'o. And what we've seen is there's generally 5 different contexts that we're planning to go after. Those 5 contexts include working with our Hawaiian Studies CPR, Cultural Personal Resource people, to help us deliver Naho Pena A'o in a manner that we can ensure that this is going to ili on the Haumana. What it looks like is yet to be determined, because we need to engage with those people that are in the front line. One of the next contexts that we've determined is important is early adopting complex areas. There were 3 really strong complex areas that came out and said, we want to do this. we want to do this. And so we're going to be working again with those people in those complex areas that have gravitated towards Nahopena'o. Again, through a community effort and not through this, here's a prescription, go and do it. Because we feel like it really has to happen with the community in order for it to ili maluna na haumana. And so complex areas acting as a whole sort of system to plan for Nahopena'o implementation. The third context is Kulakayapuni in the Department of Education. And we had one school actually, in advance of our work, step forward and go to his complex area superintendent to say, I want to replace the current general learner outcomes with Nahopena'o for my haumana at my school and for the people at my school. And so he's already started engaging with not just students, but also with the teachers, also with the parents. And one of our parents is out there, Lina Allah, is out there. And we had tremendous support from the parents around this work. And so they're already moving forward with it. And we're trying to work with them in terms of trying to build strategy around what works and what doesn't work. Another group that took off without us even asking is the Global Youth Leadership Project at Castle High School. They're calling it the HA Initiative, and working with youth leadership at Castle High School to be able to do this work. And so we're hoping that we can continue to that work in a community effort to understand the strategies that come up out of that. And then the fifth context is single teacher implementers. Because there have been single teachers who have said, I'm gonna do this anyway, whether the department says I can or not. And so just really trying to find that space for them so that they can help to develop strategies that work. And ultimately, over the course of what we hope to be a 2 to 3 year pilot in these different contexts, what we're hoping is to see best practice come up out of that has an impact on not just the students, but the teachers that are involved in this pilot implementation, the kupuna that are involved in this pilot implementation, the department leaders that are involved in this pilot implementation, so that it can inform better strategy for the larger system. And so that's kind of the space that we're at now in terms of planning for implementation. And we're looking forward to moving into that work and getting more deeper into that work.
I also wanted to add, like we've mentioned before, this common language, if you will, this framework for common languaging, not only is valued in our school systems at the DOE, charter system, immersion, but it also offers a means by which we can transform our individual organizations, our institutions, our small businesses, if you will. So it can it could also provide some guidance in terms of how organizations can transform themselves to be high-performing organizations that, again, imbue these values of belonging, of responsibility, of excellence, of aloha, of total well-being, and a sense of Hawaii. And we just say that because, this is a really good time right now. There are a lot of organizations, Kamehameha included, where they're now moving into tactical planning. Charter schools are also looking at strategic planning. So we're thinking, just from the charter schools perspective, how might we align to these kinds of outcomes? So these student outcomes can also apply to organizational outcomes.
So, real quickly, because we got a request from the audience, could we put back up the slide? I have the slides up of some of the, So some of the things that came out of your folks' meetings, I wanted to see if the panel could kind of go through and express and explain some of the correlations between Nahopena'o. With what you know about Nahopena'o, where do you see this fitting in? And just kind of going through the correlation. Okay, so I'm re-asking the question. The question is just looking at the slide. I don't know if you guys can access it. But what do you folks see as being the correlation between what came out of our meetings and Nahopena'o?
So one of the strong pieces that went across all of the poster papers was this notion about identity that's grounded in who we are as a people. There are lots of conversation about language being important, that Olelo Hawaii, that mother tongue. There was a lot of commentary about Ike Hawaii. And, you know, when we're talking about Hawaiian identity, the very last of the Hopena'a'o is about Hawaii, that strengthened sense of Hawaii. And beneath that are the qualifiers about Olelo Hawaii, about Ike Hawaii, so that initially we're talking about kids, but everybody now in the DOE system will have a strengthened sense of what it means to live, to work, to be a part of this place called Hawaii. So that, one of the things that resonated with me when I was looking across all of these sheets of paper, and there were like 20-something sheets up, was this really strong identity piece around Hawaiian.
Hello. One thing that was very apparent for me looking through all of your great educational indicators was the overlap between and the synergies. And I think what is important is that we're looking at Na Hopena'a'o and what you came up with, not through these silos or independent thought or concepts. And like breath, we sometimes need to remind ourselves, we just don't inhale. There's not an inhale without an exhale. And so really, breath is one full motion. It's whole and it's full. And likewise, we do it injustice when we start separating and categorizing. But we do that for an ability to look at things as a collective. But I will say the beauty of it is to be able to be in the space of many and wholeness, and to not fragment or separate or individualize things, but really hold all of this great mana'o as a collective, and be okay with the moving in and out of that space with a little bit more of a flow. That was very common in what you shared and what we've experienced as well.
Okay. Here's another question. Knowing that much of the mana'o shared today is somewhat different from what the DOE believes, what do we do daily as a DOE staff to help HA move forward?
Well, I don't work for the DOE, but I understand the question, that we're working within a system that does not wholly value, all of its employees do not wholly value what we're talking about. And so how do we do that? The way that we can start is for each of us as individuals to understand and to value and then put into practice what we can do as individuals. That's the easiest way, the simplest way, and very important because it does begin on an individual level. The system will change if the individuals all change within that system. I also recognize, and I've shared earlier with some other people, that I view an institution like a horse. When I was younger, we had a horse, and our horse was not real well trained. One of his favorite activities was to rub us up against a fence and try and get us off of his back. So one of our neighbors, who was a horse trainer, he says, because your horse has not really been trained very well, you have to use a different kind of bit. Those of you who are around horses may understand this. It's called a D-ring, snaffle bit. So that the regular bit, with a trained horse, all you do is put the rein on the neck, and he knows which way to turn. It's just that slight touch of the leather on his neck, he knows which way to turn. Our horse, you had to actually pull his head with the direction you wanted him to go. When you pulled his head, He had no choice but to go that direction. I think institutions function that same way. When the head moves, the body will move. So, as we will later segue into our leadership panel, we will see the heads of institutions, and they will explain to us the directions that they see for their institutions and which way they're going, and we'll see if the body follows. So, again, just short answer is that those of us that understand this within the sphere of our influence, within the DOE or without, anywhere we are, we can put these into practice with ourselves and even in our ohana. How many of us could be better at strengthening a sense of aloha within our own sphere? I think all of us. We can start with those small little things, and that influence will radiate out to the rest of the system. Mahalo.
I'm gonna share a little story. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I'm gonna share a little story about one of the resource teachers that works in my office that she actually shared with me last week or a couple weeks ago. When she hears the story, she's gonna know that I'm talking about her. And I point to this the discussion that we heard this morning when Roxanne talked about infiltrate and infiltrate and perpetuate. Infiltrate and perpetuate, not to be confused with Slami. Okay, so yeah. I understand this notion about, turning the head so that the rest of the body will move. But at the same time, we can start to help the body move in our own individual ways by accepting some of the principles that are established in Naho Pena'o. And so the story that I would like to share is about one of my resource teachers who may have needed to sort of establish her understanding of what this idea of strengthened sense of belonging meant in order for her to be able to have an appreciation for other people that belong to our office and to change her mindset around being sort of exclusive to inclusive and turning herself into a leader of a strengthened sense of belonger in so much so that she can start to impact that other person and create that strengthened sense of belonging for that other person who may not have been exhibiting those qualities of someone who has an understanding of a strengthened sense of belonging. And so by letting her own barrier down, she opened herself up to becoming a leader of strengthened sense of belonging for other people. And actually, she tells the story of one of the other resource teachers who helped her get to that understanding. The two of them are sitting in the back of the room today. They are part of the DOE system. They are also evidence that a system can change from the body piece as well, because we hope to be the support, the body piece. I'm just gonna acknowledge them. I hope they don't slap me when I get back to the office. Melissa Abrigano and Kalai Akioka.
So I'm gonna kind of join two questions. I hope the people who asked them don't get angry at me. But so in the discussions of what a successful 20-year-old Hawaiian looks like, it seemed like there were other issues in there that were missing, and two of them being absenteeism and mental illness. How do we, or you folks on the panel, see Naho Pena'o affecting issues like that?
Ooh, that's a great question. That's kind of a hard one. But I think what I want to offer up is there will be times that Naho Pena'o, you will use them maybe in pieces because it's appropriate. But really, in a holistic model, each one of those hopena'o is a contribution to a whole being. So if we're talking about absenteeism, maybe we don't know the issue of why they're absent. You know, if we understand the issue of why they're absent, we know how to begin to strengthen that. Those hopena'o provide some guiding thoughts. How that shows up and how it operates will be different and supposed to be different in different honua. It cannot be exactly the same. All our families are basic elements. We have mama, papa, the keiki from the kua'ana to the kaikaina, but they're all different. So we're gonna see those things operate different. So the issue of absenteeism is not a one answer. There's a lot of reasons why children don't go to school. But I think they provide some beginning thinking of how to change to make the environment more supportive from not only the classroom, but all of those that are involved in the school environment. How to be looking at things that help to build that whole sense of the kanaka. Because really what we are doing is preparing the kanaka. And if we're getting more technical, we're all preparing us for our kupuna time. We're all in kupuna training. You know, it takes years to be in kupuna training. And we all have a strength, and we all are not vali in something. We all are absent in something, and we are all present in something. Mental health. We all got a bit of that. So I don't think there's a one little answer. If we do this, bam, the magic wand we know. But we have some guiding thoughts to be helping us thinking about who our keiki are and what we need to be doing better to serve them, to prepare them as our future kupuna. So I think I'm gonna just offer that up.
I think this is probably a good time to also share that when Nahopena'a'o was being birthed, that it actually came from research looking at least, 14 other different models, including youth development models, especially at-risk youth. And so it really is built on a resiliency framework, which again ties to a key theme that came out of our facilitated conversations. So there is a crosswalk that bridges all these other frameworks internationally, nationally, other indigenous communities, et cetera, that has helped to inform Nahopena'a'o.
I think one more thing to add. Okay. Is I think it's important that we continue to collect our exemplars. If you notice, many of the how we articulate and express Hopena'a'o, it's things that are being done already. Yeah, within our families, within our communities, within our schools, our organizations, our nonprofits, and so forth. So we need to collect our stories of success, continue to do that, whether it's in direct alignment with Hopena'a'o or with another very local framework that you might have. We need to continue to do that because as we collect our examples of success, it just aids us in turning the head and turning all the body parts as well.
Okay. The other thing that I think is really fabulous is we spend, I don't know how many AHA I've been to in the last 10 years. We've spent a lot of conversation around some of the same things. And then when we're ready to do a change in our school, we go to the continent to look for those frameworks and those methodologies to make the difference in our school when we really have a lot of the answers. And I would like to say that Nahopena'a'o, Nahonua Mauliola, and other even frameworks that have been developed in other areas, I would like us to really look and think about them as living documents. Because as we get more akamai about what they mean, so are we able to tweak them better so they continue to improve with our improvement. So it becomes a beginning place as a framework that is Hawaii developed for the benefit of all of our poe living in Hawaii, but grounded in this place. That is huge progress for us. So if we just could take it from that concept as a living document and find those places that they can verge, because I actually forgot that we did that. And we put out the 21st century skills. We went to the national and several indigenous models. We looked across we crosswalked them all to really look at those resiliency points. So mahalo for that reminder, Cheryl. I wanted them to help.
Sorry, I'm gonna join two more questions, kind of similar. And this is kind of going to preface the question that many teachers, many schools sometimes try to embrace and implement curriculum that's founded in aspects of Nahopena'o. How do we see schools going through the alignment process to get to a place where they're basing their practices on Nahopena'o? And for DOE schools, during that process, if administration or if the higher ups don't agree with the choices or that alignment process, is there a way for the Office of Hawaiian Education, or are there avenues where teachers, schools can appeal to department leadership to actually negotiate that issue? Is the question understood? Okay, so many times it's difficult to align curriculum in department schools, or I'll just say in any school. Sometimes you already have underlining philosophies that don't run contrary to Nahopena'o or frameworks like Nahopena'o. During that alignment process, how do you feel one could go about aligning it? And when that alignment comes in, especially for you, Kau'i, I think this question was directed towards you. Can Department of Education teachers, administrators come to the Office of Hawaiian Education to discuss these issues and to appeal when they feel they're being reprimanded for this type of alignment of curriculum?
You guys funny. I go back to our pilot implementation framework that we're just starting work on. The policy just passed a month and a half ago. And I go back to that idea, and this idea of infiltrate and perpetuate. Part of the work is really to spread the good word across the system. Spread the good word across the system so that we don't have to worry so much about performance management, but really, truly, ground level buy-in to sort of the magnitude of this work. Yes, absolutely come to my office, but understand that this work is really about trying to build understanding for a large community. A large community that really doesn't come from this kind of thinking space that we've seen here over the last 2 days. And so when I talk about infiltrate and perpetuate, I am asking those of you that are from the Office of Human Resources to help me infiltrate and perpetuate across the system. I'm asking all of the kupuna to help infiltrate and perpetuate across the system. All of the kumu that are here helping to infiltrate and perpetuate across the system. Because the more we can sort of move our community together and broaden the scope of impact, I think the job just becomes easier, because we already know at the floor level, this is basic human decency. This is basic human decency. We're not asking people to, sort of give up the rest of the world. We're just asking you to recognize and acknowledge that this is basic human decency that everybody should be considering in terms of how they work with, especially our students, especially the future generation. And so when we talk about leadership, we're looking for, in those 5 contexts that I shared earlier, we're looking for student leaders, we're looking for teacher leaders, we're looking for school administrator leaders, we're looking for kupuna leaders, we're looking for high-level department leadership team leaders. We're looking for leaders across the system that can help to make sure that this becomes more of a sort of rising above our contract thing and less about the performance management thing.
Okay, so the next question I think is a good one. It's taking us out of the school setting. You know, as many of the participants discussed, that education starts at birth. How is this represented in Hawaiian education? And if the answer is in the ohana, how will the ohana be supported? How can the ohana be supported by Nahopena'o? Okay, so the panel is deferring and he's asking the audience. Mekai, ike ba yai? Educate the family.
I think it'd be really good to have an aha. Like we have the aha now, we should have an aha kauike. So that people from all across all the schools can come together and talk about what kind of ike they want to have in their schools. This would address the racist administrators who are anti-Hawaiian and are oppressing our teachers and oppressing our children, and there's lots of them in the DOE. So maybe we can get Matanoshi today to say, like Kauoha, all of you will agree to be supportive of Hawaiians. But until we do, we need to have our own aha kauike so that parents and teachers with the youth can come forward and say, we get to be Hawaiian in these American schools. Which are oppressing us and forbidding us to be Hawaiian. That's happening at Blanchard. We should fire that principal. Okay? But an aha kauike would help with that.
Mahalo. Punihei. Punihei, ike ba yai?
Yeah, I was just gonna on that subject and on what Chloe had just said. I was wondering if perhaps the next summit that we have would actually focus on the strategies to implement. Because I feel like, I mean, that's part of my already work story that's kind of decided, but I feel like that's sort of all around. The things that were all around that same place. So just wanted to highlight Manao, including something like the AHA Koike that would be discussed and planned for. But I feel like we all want to move to action, and that I would just like to highlight Manao for the next summit.
Well, I think, how are you folks feeling about what's being presented here? Are we seeing correlations between what you folks have said today? Because I think if that hasn't been established, what we're trying to make sure is happening is that we all are on the same page. We all understand that we're kind of speaking the same lingi. And so we can move down the same path together, because if we don't move down the same path together, we're not going to create the greatest change for our kids. How are you folks feeling? Anybody else? I'm trying to read the audience, but what's the sense? Kako'o. Yeah, Mekai.
I think, just for me personally, I feel like I'm there. Like I get it. I'm with you guys. I'm thinking that I feel like this is really exciting. And so I think what I've heard in the questions that were asked also is that, like I feel like the piece that, I don't think it's missing in that document, but what we want to discuss is the environments that are either going to support or not support or are not supporting the system. And so how can we collectively make a plan to change that so that that can happen?
Perfect. Well, I'm certain that will be the next step.
And then I would, I understand what she's saying, but there will always be barriers amongst us. We all know that in our lives. There will always be barriers and boundaries, yet these spaces of adversity really help us grow individually and as a group of teachers, educators, whatever we desire. But pushing forward what you guys have done today has been my kai, my piko, my kai. Oh, mahalo nui. So I understand what Lily Kala, and I know the spirit of where they come from, being around, Kili a lot. But I also understand that we have youth here, we have young teachers with open minds, great minds, with keiki, they want to grow and make it to greater leaders. So we can, but that's a barrier. That Kaui, Cheryl, all you guys, and we'll take it one step at a time. and we'll grow all together. We'll support each other, love each other, forgive each other if we have to. That's what Hawaiians do. That's what my father always said. Love everybody and always be kind. Always be kind. Hawaiians always love and be kind. So that's, you guys are doing a great job.
I would like to, give you my mahalo, and I think that the Ahakau Ike would be a perfect place to get together and discuss with Aloha.
Aloha, and thank you for having this opportunity, because I think this kind of work, needed to go out to this population, and so to be able to crosswalk, to make up the discussions. I'd be interested to hear who the whole complex area who have committed to doing this, as well as to the individual schools, because I think that boldness needs to be known and applauded. And also, I'm feeling just a bit hesitant to say that it's not mandate, because mandate is the way the system works. And if it's left to be an option, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be single people trying to make changes on a mass scale. Okay, so I think we need to be more strategic. I mean, that's what you're looking for, I know. So the best strategy, move us all forward. Yeah, because it's not fair to that individual classroom teachers and individual kupuna take on the struggle in an oppressive system. It's not fair.
No.
So could you divulge that information and then kind of move us forward there?
I don't mind sharing that information. Not because I don't, not because I think it's a bad thing, but I think it's something that should be celebrated. There were actually 3 complex areas that had stepped forward early on, back in January when we first went to the leadership team. Those 3 complex areas included Kauai complex area, Ka'u Kea'au Pahoa. Oh, are you guys from? Because look, they're all happy over there. And Castle Kahuku. I have to put a disclaimer in there because at the time that Castle Kahuku stepped forward, they had a different complex area superintendent, so who was actually sitting on our committee. We actually had a complex area superintendent, Leah Albert, sit on the committee with us to help develop this. So those were the 3 complex areas.
I would add that they weren't the only ones to step forward. We counted about maybe 7 complex area superintendents who said, yes, put us on the list. So it isn't as if, and by the way, there are only 15 of them, right? 15 complex area superintendents across the state. So this isn't something that's only isolated to the 3. It's just that when we think about a rollout process, we gotta think pilot first and then move out.
And it doesn't preclude other people from doing it. It doesn't.
Yeah, just I'm in the charter school, Hawaii Focus Charter School domain. So I just want to encourage those who are not part of the DOE system, the formal DOE system. We have an opportunity to align if it resonates with you and to show what's working. We can pilot our own. And the more that we can do that, whether it be at Kamehameha schools, any of the campuses, whether it be at independent preschools or within our own families, I think that's really important because we're trying to push on the and support the larger DOE system. But we can do that in our own pockets, yeah? Even nonprofits like at Papahanakola, Pai Pai, all these different awesome, Waipau, all these different organizations, if they choose, they can align to these things as well or have their own kind of frameworks that have similarity with Nahopana'o.
I kind of want to just add one thing in honor of Superintendent Matayoshi. The head is turning.
Yep.
The head is actually turning. when we sat down with leadership team in May to finally make a decision on whether or not we should move this policy forward, she had enough vision to see that not everybody was ready for it, but that there was a large group that was ready for it. And she didn't want to hold the rest of that group up by saying either yes or no, but to allow the space and create sort of that pilot project space, so that those that wanted to go for it could go for it. So it was actually her idea to figure out who are the early adopters. I'm just the person that's trying to get the ground level work done, but it's really the direction that's coming from our superintendent to say, let them go. They want it, let them go. And so that's how we sort of determine, well, what are the spaces? Where are the spaces that are ready to move forward, and how can we help support that? And so I just want to make sure that I honor that, and also that it was actually superintendent that decided to lift it up above student level outcomes to outcomes for every single one of us in the department. So, just that note.
Thank you. This will be the last comment.
I think we're going to either change the system on the inside, there's going to be an awfully slow process. I've been a DOE member many years, and I know how slow that can be. Are we ready to do that? We also need to look at all the possibilities of changing the system. You know, our minds have waited too long. Too much has been taken from us. Can we afford to just wait? And I laud you, Khalid, because you work within the system and you have your chains, as they say. But we need some alternative plans and thinking to try to see if we cannot move this process further faster. So many of us are going, the people are falling off the cliff already, and we can't wait, and let the rest of our people go. So I really would want this group to contemplate other alternatives to just working inside, because I know what it meant to work from the inside. It's slow. Okay? Yes, so that's my comment. We need to look at other alternatives.
So thank you all for, well, if there are any other further questions, I'm sure that the panelists will be out. We're going to take a break right now and get some lemon bars and brownies, I think. And we need to prepare for the leadership panel. And just to let you folks know that we will be addressing the issues from the Hopena'o and what you've produced from the meetings at the leadership panel as well. So there'll be more time for more questions. Thank you, folks, and all the information that you have shared from your facilitated discussions and the panel will be online. Mahalo. We'll come back at 2:30.